I will defeat the Powerpuff Girls, or my name isn't Mojo Projo.
Eshki team as Raw versus Jarad, Gwenna, and Oona. One lander, often start with a one lander on Magic Online, into a 4 lander, but no ramp. We'll just have to hope that we can keep our commander in play when we eventually do get into it, so keep this. Turn 1 Birds of Paradise for Jarad. And we surveil a tiger into the bin, I think. White of the Reliquary will allow our opponent to sack a creature for a land, and hopefully doesn't miss a land here. He does miss a land. We draw into another land ourselves anyway, even after surveilling one away. We'll see what's on top here as well. That is a Thundermane Dragon, which might be useful, so we'll keep that on top. We can play big creatures off the top of our library with it. Oona's Blackguard is the first fairy tip play, and it's Stitcher's Supplier for the Golgari player. So ironically mills a couple of lands to that, and Insidious Fungus as well. Then can sacrifice that with the White of the Reliquary in order to grab himself a land. He did lose out on the Urborg to the mill though. Also milled Journey to Eternity and Boggart Brawler. And the land shooted out is a Crypt of Agadeem. So this cares about the number of creatures in your graveyard. We know what we were drawing into here, so it's between Uro to accelerate our lands, or do we just get down our commander and hope that it sticks in play, as it doesn't tend to. I think I'll go for the command tower in for Eshki. Zulaport Cutthroat enters with a plus counter, thanks to it being a rogue, which means if it hits someone they have to discard as long as the Blackguard's in play. This swings in at Gwenna. Gwenna, Eyes of Gaia, is the second commander to hit play, and now manages to play a land off the top of his library apparently. A Timeless Witness can go and grab back a card, I think. Yeah, it's not a permanent, it's any card, and does grab back the Urborg. Then sacks the Timeless Witness in order to put a land into play, gets the Gaia's Cradle. This is supposed to be bracket 2, so we'll see about that. Yeah, I did ask for bracket 2 and this is illegal in that bracket, but whatever, carry on playing. Well, there's a Gwenna. I think I want to go for the High Fae Trickster so that we can start playing at flash speed. So we'll just pass through the turn and plan on getting that down. It will be good if they decide to keep the bracket system, if Magic Online can actually implement it to force people to build decks with the game changes in mind. We'll go some other ways to getting the types of games that you're after. Alright, so hitting with the 2 creatures over to the right, he will have to discard a card, which might actually play into Jarad's hand here. So makes him discard a Boneyard Mycodrax, which can be scavenged from the graveyard. And the blue player just holds up mana, so maybe a Fact or Fiction hopefully doesn't manage to counter our Fae Trickster, although we'll still get the triggers on our commander at least. I expect to see something big from the Gwenna player here. Well, Monstrous Vortex is a good one, that's in this list as well. Underrealm Lich is going to continue to load up the graveyard. And this thing has jumped up to a 7/7 Vigilance. This has kept him in the game well and truly when he was missing land drops. And the 7/7 goes in against Oona. So at the end of the turn we'll go for the High Fae Trickster, which will put the first plus counter on Eshki and draw us a card. Gets us into another big creature, as we should expect in this list. And there's another land for us, an untapped land, so we could go for a 5-drop this turn, and then a couple of 3-drops the turn after. It means Gwenna is going to take quite a while, but it's a good use of our mana, I think. Let's go for the forest, and just hold back the 4/2 for now, I think. This is where it's handy for you to get into your 2-mana ramp, like your Rampant Growths and Farseeks and the like, because if we were 1 land ahead, it would be really handy to get down our additional mana creatures during this turn cycle. A Propaganda is going to make it difficult to swing in at the Temur player. And we see the first big creature, that is Aggressive Mammoth, gives everything trample, as well as untapping the Gwenna with a plus counter. Monstrous Vortex will discover as well. And with Discover you never miss, so that is Surak able to give something haste. And Monstrous Vortex can just chain off here if you've got a deck built around it, so again can untap the commander and trigger the Vortex. Okay, didn't manage to get into anything with the Monstrous Vortex, that was just a regrowth. So Surak triggers at the beginning of combat and gives the 8/8 trample haste, which turns into the right. So could double block and only lose one creature here. I have a feeling he's going to take it though, although he is at 32, quickly getting down to half of his life total. Does decide to block with the 7/7. If you're going to do that, I'd double block personally and get that thing out of play. You're only going to lose one creature regardless. Jarad Golgari Lichlord into play for the first time. And then it is a Shriekmaw. Just hope we keep our commander in play here, because Gwenna's just been doing some work for him. But Eshki doesn't seem to stick in play for very long. Alright, going after the haste enabler instead. So at the end of the turn, let's go for what we said we were going to do. Elder Gargaroth. So it's another plus counter and card draw from our commander, gets us into a land. And Will of the Temur is going to be a decent one. Could play that here and get down another Elder Gargaroth. I think I want to get Gwenna going as soon as possible though. If we're not going to see a board wipe, that means Uro as well. So play a mountain. And we've got Vigilance, Reach and Trample on this thing, so I think we're fine to swing into the right. I would swing into the left except for the propaganda here. Or actually this is an 11/11, so definitely swing down the middle instead. And we've got plenty of cards, so let's make it a beast token for chump blocking. The 1/1 flyer swings in down the middle this time. Noteworthy as well, there is a Cabal Stronghold here, only has one basic swamp in play though. Knowledge Exploitation can do that for the prowl cost thanks to hitting with a rogue, so can search for an instant or sorcery. Not sure what he's going to make use of there, maybe some means of spot removal. We've got plenty of creatures in this list. I imagine all three of his opponents are going to be creature based though. He could go for a board wipe as well I suppose, which hopefully he doesn't. Okay, so he just didn't go for anything there seemingly. Could have at least gone for a cultivate or something. There's the regrowth that we saw go in hand previously to grab back the Surak. And plays the Surak. So untaps his commander when he does so, and again it's Monstrous Vortex. That's going to do some heavy lifting for this player as well. Okay, whiffed on that. I did have the Exile Zone open, but it's all just disappeared for whatever reason. And then it's a Skullspore Nexus, which costs less thanks to all the power in play. And they can double a creature's power until the end of the turn, so with an 8/8 trample that's going to be scary. Surak can give itself haste as well if he wants it to. So now the 8/8 trample swings in towards us, the 5/4 to the left, he can't do that because of the propaganda. So just swings in the 8/8. We could block here before it becomes too much of an issue. But again, the mana's a bit janky because we haven't got a head of land. And we don't have haste yet, even though there's lots of haste enablers in the list, unfortunately. So I think I'm going to stick with the plan and just allow this through. The Jarad has made it up to a 12/12 now. And in comes Junji. So if he sacrifices that, it can reanimate something. And he can afford to sacrifice it with his commander. Instead, it plays out a Nyx Weaver, mills 2. And I can't, as ever, on Magic Online, I can't keep the graveyard open. There's a Golgari Grave Troll, which is noteworthy, in the bin. Now thankfully Jarad doesn't have any means of evasion, so might not bother swinging in here. So at the end step we play Gwenna first so that it can see the big creature enter. And that will only put a plus counter on Eshki, or Eshki, whatever it's called. Then a big creature, Uro for 3 mana. Puts a plus counter on Gwenna, puts a plus counter on our commander, draws us a card, and deals damage equal to the power to each opponent, so our commander is at a 6/6 at the moment. Drew us into a land there as well. See what Uro draws us into. Do have to sacrifice the Uro because of the clause of when it enters, but we'll be able to escape it down the line most likely. Alright, that draws us into another means of dealing damage to our opponents with the commander. Let's get a tap land in with Mosswalk Bridge, see if we can cheat anything good into play. Takes a lot of setting up with Eshki, but this is where it all starts to pan out for us. Nothing all that great there, unfortunately. Just have to get down Animar and try to get discounts on stuff. Okay, Garrett's Uprising is pretty good. We can play any spells, I think. Yeah, not just creature spells, any spells. Get down a forest. And then I think we definitely want the Animar in play. Do we need to do it now though? I don't think so. Let's just go for the Garrett's Uprising, I think. And we do control a big creature, so that will draw us a card on entry. which is another Garruk's Uprising with legs. Probably best to get this down after the Animar has got a few plus counters on it. We can get the discounts on our creatures. So go through to combat then, and see if our opponent wants to trade us the Elder Gargaroth. I think I'll make another beast token just because it's good for double blocks at this point. Noteworthy that all of our creatures now have trample thanks to the Garruk's Uprising, and decides to block with Surak. So we get 2 damage through, and that will trigger the Skullspore Nexus, creating another vanilla version of the Surak, or at least it would be vanilla if it wasn't for the trample from the Mammoth over there. Good to get a creature-based game where we're not seeing constant board wipes. This is why I asked for bracket 2, because I know how long it takes to set up with Eshki. Any interference with her is going to really slow things down. But the High Fae Trickster's making a big difference. Master Thief gains control of a target artifact, so probably has to be the Nexus. I think it's the only artifact in play actually, surprisingly. Emerald Medallion to give a discount on the green spells. And E-Witness can once again grab pack the Surak, so don't seem to be having the best of luck actually getting into big creatures here, but he is recycling the same ones, so can manage to keep going. Well, thankfully he's managed to keep his commander in place, so we can afford to actually play the Surak here. So untaps his commander again. This is only going to cost 3 mana thanks to the medallion, which shows us a Steel Leaf Champion of 5/4. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. So plays that and can maybe float some mana with his Gwenna now because he's got the trigger on the stack again, so tap it for mana, untap it there. Decides not to do it though, which is telling as to what's in his hand. He will discover again though with the Vortex, which shows us an Overgrowth, Terastodon and Silverback Elder, so keeps himself an Overgrowth, gets an additional 2 mana when he taps that, so that might make a difference. If he's got something really big in hand, he might wish that he'd floated that mana with the commander, just a good habit to get into. So taps the land for 3, has no max hand size, with a Thought Vessel, 2 cards in hand only though. And then a Spider Silk Armour, creatures you control have reach and +1 to their toughness. Surak gives itself haste again, and everything has trample, so once again seems to be forgetting about the propaganda. This thing has saved him a lot of damage over here. Decides not to swing in at all because we've got mana held up with the Fae Trickster. Nyx Weaver mills a couple of cards again at the beginning of the upkeep, so shows us an Urg and a land. There is a Mulgraf Millipede there, a Ghoul Tree, everything else we've seen I think. And decided to bring the Grave Troll into hand, so there's Old Stickfingers, Llanowar Elves 6 and Carrion Grub. Culling Ritual is going to destroy all the cheap stuff. Mana value 2 or less we don't care about apart from the beast tokens. Not sure what my opponent's aim is there really. You will get some additional mana from it though. It has 5 mana floating and encourages the Dimir player to use Village Rites on the Oona's Blackguard, so triggers Zulaport Cutthroat which hits everyone. Gets a token version of Oona's Blackguard which is going to die to the Culling Ritual here. So a bunch of stuff gets wiped out. Zulaport Cutthroat on the stack again, and with that made 7 green and 1 black mana. 2 cards in hand, one of which is the Grave Troll, we know that. But these players are starting to get down there in life totals, so maybe Eshki is going to be a lot more relevant than we thought she would. Just really playing her for the card draw in this list. Anyway, sacrifices Junji in order to probably reanimate something, and yeah, is going to put a non-dragon into play here, so that is reanimating the Mulgraf Millipede. When it enters mill 3, put plus counters on it for each creature in your graveyard, so how much can that do if they make use of this thing? Probably quite a lot, but we can try and take this guy out on the stack. I'm not sure we'll be able to do it, but I don't think there's much we can do about any of this anyway. So that does enter. He mills 3 more cards and turns this into a 19/19. There's Hermit Druid, Angel of Suffering and Darkmoor or Dakmoor salvage. So we go down to 25 and then he sacrifices it to make each opponent lose life. So the Dimir player's down to 2, we go down to 6, the mono green player goes down. but he's at 16 over here. So plays out Golgari Grave Troll. With that on the stack, let's try and do something. Get the Animar into play to start getting discounts going, which draws us a card, puts a plus counter on the Eshki. We need to be definitely making use of Gwenna. As we've seen, it's a very good means of mana generation. So we'll play the Dreamtide Whale first of all, seeing as how that's our cheapest means of playing a creature at the moment. And that again puts our commander on the stack. It will untap the Gwenna, and Animar will get the first plus counter. It cares about plus counter as opposed to power, so a discount of 1 is applicable at the moment. Does have protection from black as well. So that is enough to knock out the Temur player there, who was only at 2 life. And when that enters, we draw a card which can just get us into more cheap high power creatures, hopefully. Draw into a monstrous vortex of our own, which won't do anything unfortunately. So it's a 3 mana Ansrag thanks to the Animar. And that should be game for us, thanks to us being able to keep our commander in play this whole time. So once again, untap, further discounts with Animar. And thanks to the high power of this, it has to be 6 power or above in order to hit our opponents. So upon resolution, that will knock our opponent down to -1. We were drawing into a few more bits there. It might have been that we could have got down the Galter if we needed to push even more damage through. In fact, I think we could have done that. And then we had another 5 power creature to untap the Gwenna with if we wanted to keep drawing cards and trying to get into something. But like I said, has to be 6 power or more in order to get the damage through. So yeah, being able to play at instant speed makes all the difference in a deck like this, seemingly. We couldn't have at any point protected our board to a board wipe there, so like I said, I was very grateful that we were able to play some old school battlecruiser commander and that it wasn't too try hard and people wiping the board left, right and centre, as is so often the case. That's why I specifically made this bracket 2, so that we could buy ourselves a little bit of time in that regard. Anyway, hopefully you all enjoyed it. Big thank you to you for watching, and a massive thank you to the patrons as well. I'm Tribalkai. Thank you for watching.